Okay. It's finally winter time again. Welcome to winter. Winter. As always, it feels like fall went by incredibly fast again this year, but with winter being my second favorite season, I'm not terribly upset. I love winter very much as well. So we're gonna have a really nice, cozy imagination practice again this evening for my second annual describing a cozy winter scene. This is my second time doing winter. And I did my second fall one last time. So I have my very, very, very fluffy snowball looking Yeti cover today, which I thought was appropriate. And my roommate had some cute little snowflake hair clips, so I've accessorized for the season. And of course, cozy sweater. I think this is the same one I was wearing in the fall video, but it's very cozy. Okay, so how this works is that you're first going to get into a very cozy, comfortable position, whether that's on your couch, on your bed, in a cozy armchair, wherever you're most comfortable. And you're going to focus just on my voice for the next little bit. And ideally keep your eyes closed while I describe a cozy winter scene to you. I have one small rant to start, which is that every time I look for a nice photo to make these videos, it's kind of overwhelming how many of these scene pictures are just AI generated and they don't feel as real. So it's actually kind of difficult to find good ones for this, but the one I found, I believe, is a real photo, or it's been artistically photoshopped in such a way, but it's quite unique and definitely different. Unique and definitely different from the winter one that we did last year. So you just sit back and listen to my overly detailed, descriptive narration of what I see on my screen. So, like I said, it's nice if you can keep your eyes closed so that you can let the image come together in your mind. If you're ready, let's get started. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the setting of where we are and how it feels before I get into any of the details. But this image is not incredibly incredibly detailed. It has a very, very clear focus directly in the middle. I want you to imagine a snapshot of a very snowy day outside, looking at a very unique corner of a rather large building. It feels like we are in the middle of a city somewhere, relatively modern. Doesn't look like an old city. Feels like it could be a unique building in a quiet corner of a city, but we can't see any roads or cars nearby. It might be on a more residential street of some kind, but we are outside. It looks like it could be any time of day in how the light looks. Could be morning after sunrise, or afternoon, or the evening before the sun goes down. Can't really tell because it's so blizzardy and snowy outside. So you don't get any other details of what's going on in the sky, just that grayish white fog that fills all the air, and tiny, tiny little snowflakes falling down all around outside. The snow is not particularly heavy, and it's only frosted the area around it so far. Not piles and piles of snow, just a frosting on the pavement. Two benches that we can see in front of us. Some low bushes, little shrubs in the foreground, and some taller, thin trees hanging over the left, top left of the frame here, and some sparse, leafless, thin trees in the background as well. Now, like I said, we're looking at a very unique corner of a building in this image. And this building appears to be a bookshop or a unique wing or corner of a library. Could be either. Now, what makes this a little bit unique is that the entrance is fully glass doors from floor to ceiling, with one window on either side of these double glass doors. The windows are just as transparent and fully glass. You can only see very thin black metal framing the double glass doors and the large windows on either side. On the right hand side, the window is connected to a perpendicular wall of the building that's now coming sort of towards us. So, kind of like a part of it that juts out from the main part of the building. So it joins perpendicular with, you can see the tall walls outside of the building on the right. And the texture of the wall seems to be a very slick, shiny, black brick. So almost like a marbly texture rather than something rough, but you can see the faint lines between the bricks. It's not a lot of detail as you see up the side of the building. Other than that, just some modern architectural sort of shapes and, a few windows, but you can't make out too much of the detail because it kind of fades away into the corner on the right hand side of the picture. On the left hand side of these double doors and the window on the left, we just see this extension library bookshop part of the building to stop there, and just looks like there's pavement or pathway that goes around the left side of this bookshop into the outside. Above the double doors and the windows, there's a bit of a overhang. I don't know if it's called an awning, if it's just like a flat concrete overhang a little bit. And then stretching up from the overhang are 4 more large windows. 4 more large windows, all just separated by a thin black metal support, and they align with the windows and the double doors on the ground floor, but they stretch up, but not a full flight higher. The part of the window furthest to the right is the tallest one. The one next to it, a bit shorter. The third, a bit shorter still. And the one on the far left is just a little bit taller than the ground floor. So from left to right, there's a steady incline, perfect diagonal of the windows before it connects to the rest of the building on the right hand side. Does that make sense? So that's why this looks particularly unique. It's got this angled roof sloping down from the right, where it's connected to the rest of the building, all the way down on the left, which is just a bit taller than that first ground floor. Can't see any other details from the roof because we're looking at it quite straight on. not from a 3/4 angle or the side at all. We're looking directly with those double doors at the very center of our image. So we can see the slope perfectly. And you can't see the roof part of it. There's nothing terribly remarkable about this bookshop or extension of the library because it's just walls of books the whole way through that you can see through all of the windows on the lower level and the upper level through the taller parts of the windows. All just books all the way around. So that's why I can't tell if it's a library or a bookshop. Because you can't see like a checkout counter or any people. It doesn't go that deep. It's quite shallow. Looks like if you walked in, the double doors would open and you'd only have maybe a foot or two for the door to swing open and pass the bookshelves behind it. Can't make out any of the titles or the types of books. There's just, let's see. There are no books on the very lower part of the floor. They've got the first shelf probably a foot or two from the floor. And then there's 1, 2, 3 large wall shelves on the ground floor with another half shelf above on the left and on the right. On the far right hand side, the bookshelf is a bit more packed. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shelves on that side that seem to hold books with smaller spines. It does look like there is a bit of a, frame, like an archway kind of pass through on the far right of that. That looks like it leads into the rest of the building on the right. And I can't quite see how anyone would reach the books that we see through the upper windows, the upper slanted diagonal windows. But you can see the ceiling slightly and a black ceiling lamp hanging down from it. Can't tell if there's a sliding ladder or some way to get to those books that are much higher up on that wall. I can't quite tell. Even from this angle, it's possible that there could be a staircase to an upper floor and possibly an opening to that little area of the book collection. It's hard to tell. We're a little bit far away to make out perfect detail. Just beyond where we can see the roof of the bookshop, we see a very faint building just behind it. Looks like it might be just across the road, but still visible. Looks like maybe a 9 or 10-story building, maybe less, but like I said, it is quite foggy and gray in the sky, so it almost looks like that building disappears upwards a little bit. I can't quite make out how tall it is. It just looks like a very modern but quite lifeless concrete building in the background. Nothing remarkable. This looks like maybe a small office building or an older condo building, something like that. Not quite sure. And then the only thing that we really see around the corner on the left-hand side of this shop is just lots of snowfall sprinkling throughout the thin leafless trees. Looks like there might be just a bit of pavement going around there, but the sort of corner exactly is blocked by a small row of shrubs and bushes that have a fresh dusting of snow. Right on the very corner, on the window on the left, there's a black pot, pretty large one, kind of like maybe knee height or mid-thigh height, that has a kind of basic plant in there. It's just sitting on the wooden, step up to the doors, just in the corner there. And the last little bit of detail in this image are just those two benches that I mentioned at the beginning. They are almost perfectly symmetrical from how they're positioned in this picture. One of them on our left, the other on our right, and they're facing each other so that you could sit in the snow and have a conversation with someone across from you. But no one is sitting there right now. They're not fancy. They just look like they're made of a light wood or even a durable brown plastic material is also possible. They don't have any armrest bars on them. They just kind of look like a basic square flat bench with a very low sort of floating backrest on them. 4 legs each. Just panels. 2 panels for the backrest and maybe 3 or 4 panels on the bench, which is covered in a light layer of snow. There's about maybe 5 feet or 6 feet of pavement between these 2 benches facing each other. And from where we're standing, the path is clear along that pavement between the benches and leading up to the double doors of the bookshop, and that's how you would enter. So yeah, the bench on the left has its back sort of up against the shrubs, whereas the one on the right is positioned just a few feet in front of the bigger part of the building outside of it. There's a few shrubs behind the right-hand bench as well. One quite close to us in the bottom right corner of the frame. And it's just snowing and peaceful. There's no people. The lights inside the bookstore are dim, not dark, but just very peacefully lit. And it seems like somewhere quiet that you could wander into after walking around the city in the snow. Somewhere to go to warm up and relax a little bit. I wonder if you turn to the left inside, maybe there's a cafe or a sitting area or somewhere else cozy. But I just liked this picture because it sort of captured how quiet it feels even in relatively large cities. Like, this is very clearly like a quiet corner of a major city, I think. It feels like this could be like in the West End of Vancouver or something, or in a quiet corner of Portland. It looks a little too modern feeling to feel like Portland, but it gives very West End Vancouver. Just those quieter parts, away from like the hustle and bustle, but clearly lots of people live around here, you know what I mean? No like big corporate buildings around, but more residential and maybe like a couple offices or something. That's what it feels like, and it just feels like it's made an even, a little bit busy city feel completely still, completely quiet. That's what this reminded me of. Even when you walk around downtown Vancouver and it's like busy, when it's snowing, it feels like time is standing still. And it's just the best. I know that there's so many people that don't like the snow. The reason that I hear that from most people is because they hate driving in the snow, which makes total sense. But I myself don't drive, so I'm not bothered for that reason. And I like the cold. There's something so satisfying about walking around in very crisp air and then finding somewhere cozy to stop and warm up for a little bit before going back out there. I love snow just because it makes everything feel quiet. Feels like you put on insulation all around, even somewhere really busy. What about you? What do you think about snow? I really wasn't sure how this description would go because there wasn't quite as much detail in this image, or nothing like super notable details compared to other ones that I've done. So I wasn't sure, but I quite like this the more that I look at it. It's a very specific mood. I hope that you enjoyed listening. I hope I'm getting a bit better at describing stuff. This is good practice for me too. But yeah, use your imagination. Transport yourself to this. I will post this reference image to my Patreon a bit later, and if if you want to follow me over there, you can do that. It's free to follow, and then I'll just post this image maybe a couple days after I put this video up, so you can see if I was accurate in my description, or if your imagination populated something similar to what I'm looking at. I'd love to know. That'd be cool. But for now, you just get some rest. If you're trying to fall asleep, I hope you have the best night. And if you have other things to do today, just think about cozy, peaceful, insulated, snowy vibes to get you through. Happy winter solstice to everyone. Happy winter solstice. And I hope everyone has a very happy holidays. And I will see you again in the next video.